on the official business of the school district. The public is cordially invited to attend board meetings to observe the board as it conducts its official business. Persons who willfully interrupt, disrupt, or cause disturbances at an official meeting may be directed to leave by the presiding officer. Members of the audience should show respect for the speakers by refraining from loud comments or other disruptions. Disruptions by any person or persons of a public meeting will be subject to action in accordance with General Statute 143-318.17. We have a quorum with all board members present, as well as Superintendent Moore and our board attorney, Jonathan Blumberg. If you all rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I heard you, Mr. Fletcher.
Yeah, so did I.
Superintendent Moore.
Good evening. I had the pleasure earlier this month of surprising this year's winners of the Diane Kent Parker First Year Teacher of the Year Award at their schools. Each year, our district honors a group of outstanding teachers, one each from the elementary, middle, and high school levels, as well as one special education teacher with this special First Year Teacher of the Year Award. These teachers inspire students and their colleagues by navigating the challenges of a new job with grace, skill, and confidence. This year's winners are Betty Cotton, 5th grade teacher at Green Magnet Elementary, Joshua Shepard, band teacher at Neuse River Middle, Megan D'Agostino, Math 1 teacher at Southeast Raleigh Magnet High School, and Karen Dusterberg, special education teacher at Panther Creek High. You can read more about these outstanding educators on our website. They will be recognized at the Teacher of the Year banquet on April 27th. Congratulations to this year's winners and the finalists. Congratulations are also in order for the 85 WCPSS teachers who recently earned National Board Certification, considered the gold standard in teaching. In addition, 198 of our current district's current nationally board certified teachers renewed their National Board Certification. It's a 10-year certification. A list of newly certified and renewed teachers is also available on our website. We are proud as a district to have the most board certified teachers in the nation. The certification process requires teachers to analyze their teaching practices and the impact of their instructional decisions on student learning, to take on leadership roles, and to collaborate effectively with peers. The certification program is grounded in the belief that establishing higher standards for teachers leads to increased student achievement. We remain committed to supporting teachers at every step of the certification process, from initial candidacy through renewal. Congratulations to all these outstanding educators for going through this rigorous process for the benefit of their students. Time is running out. On the 10th annual Wake Up and Read Children's Book Drive, which ends February 28th. This annual book drive is a critical part of our effort to make sure every child develops essential literacy skills. Over the years, hundreds of thousands of books have been given to students who need them the most. Books will be distributed to students at 15 WCPSS schools and 17 child care centers. Children will select books through free book fairs to take home, to add to, or create their home library, and to be able to read over the summer. You can be a literacy champion by donating new or gently used books, or by making a financial donation. Learn more at wakeupandread.org, and we'll hear a little bit more about this later in the meeting today. Finally, this evening, I would like to share another video from our Black History Month series, spotlighting outstanding employees. As I shared at our last meeting, we asked staff members to nominate a peer who takes initiative and leads by example at school and in the community. Today, we will hear from Tamika Williams, a literacy coordinating teacher who serves our Title I schools. Her duties include leading professional learning sessions and facilitating problem solving for students, with equity always at the forefront of her work. Turn to the monitors.
I am always looking for how can we center our students of color? What books can we place in front of them so that they can see themselves? What conversations can we engage them in so that they are always thinking about how wonderful they are, how they are full of genius, how they are full of joy. And if we can cultivate the love of learning in them, that's what's truly going to help them grow. I'm originally from Bronx, New York, but my roots are in Eastern North Carolina, specifically Ahoskie and Plymouth. My mom's dad, my grandfather, he was a sharecropper. And he went from being a sharecropper to owning his own land. But something that I found out about my grandfather was that he did not learn how to read until he became an adult many years later. And so I take that with me and I use that to fuel what I do when I'm talking about building a love for literacy. My youngest daughter is getting ready to finish her K-12 experience in our district. And so I would hope, just as her experience was rich, from the different students she engaged with, from the teachers that poured into her, that every child in our district has that same experience. It's important for children to know that they're cared for. It's important for children to know that excellence is not an option. It's important for children to know that even on days where things are extremely challenging, they can do well. I'm wearing a button that says start with genius, start with joy. So what's the genius in our community? And how do we talk about that genius? What's the joy in our community? What are the ways that we love to just enjoy each other, to celebrate each other, to be in community with each other? How do we communicate with each other? There's different dialects and things and ways of talking and being that we have. So how can we just celebrate those things? How can we talk about our joy? Not just the things that we've overcome. Yes, those things are important, but we celebrate things every day. So let's talk about the celebratory things. Let's talk about the wonderful things that we created, that we're still creating, and really immerse our students in that so that they learn about that joy and then they can continue that joy.
Thank you. That concludes my comments for the evening.
Thank you, Superintendent Moore, and that reminder that it continues to be Black History Month. We will hear more about that later in our program as well. It also continues to be Love the Bus. Thank you to our bus drivers and safety assistants for the work that you do with our students. Even more so during these difficult times, it's always hard when you get that phone call as a parent that you have to interrupt your day. But we are certainly grateful and thankful for the bus drivers that we have, and anyone interested can go to wcpss.net/careers to learn more about it. Superintendent Moore, you threw us for a loop last time. And I know we will have more to say, but I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate the fact that you are continuing to serve this district through the academic year. And I know how much this district means to you, and I appreciate you in your time here. And I feel like your time as superintendent, because she could have easily retired before taking this job, is just 5 bonus years. So thank you for that. And thank you to your family for that. And I also do want to say out loud a thank you to our Chief Finance Officer, Mark Winters, who is retiring at the end of this month. Mark made it so I understood this comprehensive budget and all that goes into it and can regurgitate those facts almost seamlessly. And I learned a lot of acronyms from him. So thank you, Mark. We wish you well and lots of pickleball and grandbabies. He has 2. We're not, in your retirement. And those are my comments for this evening. Vice Chair Haggerty.
Thank you, Chair Mahaffey. Thank you, everyone. I'm excited about our student performance tonight. We look forward to that on the agenda. Also, I wanted to take this time, I see in the audience Dr. Anise Williams. Dr. Williams, as many of you know, but perhaps not enough, is the first African-American woman ever selected as our WCPSS Principal of the Year. And I know that we'll be hearing from her later, but I thought this was a good time, as if you had a chance to hear Dr. Williams' speech when she accepted her award, I thought it was important, especially this month, to give thanks and recognition to a former principal of mine, Ms. Dolores Revis, who was a trailblazer of her own back in the 1970s, both at Crosby Garfield 6th Grade Center, then at York Elementary when my sister attended. And so while we're honored by your presence, I thought we should honor a lot of the other women who came before and served in these important leadership roles, and we're really honored that you're here, and we're going to be hearing from you tonight. So thank you, Dr. Williams. Speaking of the past, we're coming up on an important anniversary that I'm really excited about, our Pieces of Gold program. I don't know, I hope all of you know or have had a chance to experience our countywide Showcase of the Arts, but if you haven't, get your tickets now. You cannot miss this. This is fabulous. It's sold out. All right, so hit the secondary markets, because if you couldn't get your Beyonce or your Taylor Swift tickets, this might be your opportunity. I'm really excited and want to encourage all the performers who will be in this year's program. Finally, we get out in the community a lot. I don't always go through my itinerary of places that we visited, but I was with Ms. Waters this morning at a chamber event, and they were talking to state leaders and federal leaders about important issues to the city of Raleigh and economic development, and what issue came up time and time again? Our schools and education. And so, everyone realizes the importance of education in our community. And I really wanted to take the time to highlight one of the things that came out of our finance meeting today, which is when we were talking about our budget priorities. Because as we put together our budget, and we'll go through the budget process, I think it's important to look at these priorities we've set and how they are going to help and benefit all of our families and all of our students. When you go through the priorities, and I want to make sure I don't misstate any of them. Employee compensation, making salaries of our non-certified staff competitive in today's job market, and improving the supplemented pay for our certified staff. This is so important because we heard what? We heard from how many parents at this event about the long-term use of subs, vacancies that parents have had, and we know our students deserve the stability of a full-time teacher in the classroom. And this is why this has to be one of our priorities. It's great for our workers, it's great for our staff, but it's so important for our students to give them the stability they need as they go through the year. Likewise, families, especially working families, because I nearly missed our meeting because of this earlier, we need the stability of reliable bus transportation. And we will only get that once all of our vacant positions are filled. And one of the keys to filling that is the better benefits, better compensation, and some of the other innovations that the district has been working on with our bus monitors. Behavioral support, we've heard this time and time again, the support we need to give to our behavioral support professionals, both in terms of the numbers that we have, the ratio to students, but also the compensation which they get. Our selfless counselors and social workers and school psychologists and nurses. With the record numbers of youth experiencing mental health distress right now, it's our obligation to support these students, and that's why this is a priority. Our instructional support technicians, this doesn't always get the same glamour that some of the other needs do, but when you talk about keeping our kids safe online and just even helping parents through the frustration of dealing with tech and IT and getting through the help desk, this is a key need that we have. And then, as you know, I chair the facilities committee, and we had a robust facilities discussion at our last meeting. The maintenance operations formula. I know I think all of our new board members and many of our old have come to us already this early in the year talking to us about the importance of well-needed systems improvements in our schools. And when you see what had been cut over the years in terms of what we spend on maintenance utilities and our operating capital and trying to bring those up to the standard, it's just a good investment. The money we put into staff who can go in and maintain our key systems, our HVAC, our plumbing, our electrical, our safety systems, this will save us money in the long run. And then, we can get caught up on those back renovations, we can get those key essential services restored. And so as we continue to put together our budget, remember, it reaches everything. It's in our finance committee, but it impacts our student achievement, it impacts our facilities, it impacts safety and security and everything we do. So I hope you all come together, you'll see these priorities, your priorities reflected in our budget priorities, and then we can all work together to advocate for the funds that we need this year. Thank you, Chair Mahaffey.
Great. Thank you. Ms. Johnson-Hostler.
Thank you, Chair Mahaffey. So I will start with, so I don't forget, our dear colleague who used to be my seatmate who said the pledge in a very different cadence than I, has so nicely worn, Mr. Fletcher, has nicely worn the Willow Spring Storm baseball hat tonight. He and I both are here rather than at our first conference, round being in the conference playoffs for our women's basketball team. A reminder, this is a new school. They have no seniors. This is a major sports accomplishment. Also, you all know I love sports. So hats off to all of our schools and both men and women's basketball team who've made it to the first round of the playoffs. But Willow Spring Storm, so they are packing the I, which is their gym, tonight for the women's basketball at 6 p.m. And so, again, hats off to the students, the families, the communities, the educators in that building who have truly built a school community. I'd be remiss if I also didn't thank our partners in Fuquay. This is my second school that we're building a high school in a community that loves their school, and they've really made way for the storm. So the storm is not taking on the Bengals. The Bengals are not ignoring the storm. It is really a beautiful, compatible relationship in Fuquay, and so I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the community for opening their arms very widely to the Willow Spring Storm. So we're excited for them tonight and keeping our fingers crossed. I do not have a list of brackets, but I think they're playing New Bern, which, by the way, beat Millbrook in football, but I'll let that go. I love our sports, you know that. But again, congratulations to the school and their school community. Thanks to all of our schools who have either invited me in to read or invited me in to talk to your students during Black History Month. And I will briefly say to you what I said to them. As a Black girl who should have been a statistic, raised by a single parent in a small town, with the only access to education was my public education, that there's no way I ever thought I'd be sitting in this seat, and I am. And this seat is a reflection not just of me, but for all girls, but especially Black girls, to see that you can have joy regardless of what statistics and data say about you. So for me, that is about sharing that legacy with our young people, because oftentimes Black and brown kids don't really experience joy. And I appreciate Ms. Williams speaking to joy, which may sound like, why are we talking about joy in education? But a part of being successful is not just happiness, because happiness is situational. Joy is about contentment and a feeling. And so hopefully we are building a sense of joy and community for our students in our schools. And I thank all the schools who are readily inviting us in. Also, as a graduate of a historically Black college and university, and as a member of a sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which Ms. Dolores Revis is a member of, I'd be remiss if not thanking our two HBCUs for also going into our schools during Black History Month and also showing our students what can happen for them after their K-12 experience. And several of those students are or have been students in Wake County Public Schools. And to all of the graduate chapters who've come to read to our students, it's been a pleasure being among my Greek family life and my HBCU family as I've gone into our schools to read during Black History Month. So thank you to our two HBCUs in Wake County and our Greek life for supporting our schools during. Actually, they support our schools 365, but I'm giving them a special shout out during Black History Month. Thank you, Ms. Mahaffey.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson-Hostler. Mr. Swanson.
You know, I got used to you going the other side, Chair Mahaffey. You kind of caught me off guard. She did. We're normally the last ones. But I want to start my remarks by just thanking Superintendent Moore for your outstanding leadership and the dedication that you have shown to your students and the lives and the impact you've made on lives across this district and even in Nash County. And so we are so grateful for your leadership, and I wish you well in your well-earned retirement, but I'm also very sad that you're going to be leaving us. And so I wasn't going to say salty, but it's well deserved on your retirement, and so thank you. Last Saturday, Chair Mahaffey and I had an opportunity of attending Cary High School's Navy JROTC military ball, which was a very exciting event, and just seeing the great things that those cadets are doing in their communities and in their lives is always a great opportunity. And so I want to give a great shout out to Mr. Bryan and the team over at Cary High for, just centering the needs of those students and all the schools in District 9. I'm slowly getting to all of them, and had some memories when I was able to go to West Cary again and participate in the book fair, which has definitely changed from the time I was a student, but seeing the excitement of folks having those books and having those conversations and looking at some of the little knickknacks are still the same, which is unbelievable. But it was great to just see that joy and seeing students being eager and excited to read books. So yes, and I'm looking forward to hearing Enloe Magnet High School perform for us. It always warms my heart seeing students out here, and as a former teacher of Enloe, it's always great to see that great pride happening. So I'm excited. My remarks are going to be very short tonight, so thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Caulfield.
Is this thing on? So this last week I had my first board advisory committee meeting where we discussed school safety and the importance of community coming together. It's important to recognize that guns are coming to our school and the hoax is threatening our safety in our schools, while also shutting down instruction time, which we know is extremely important, especially now. And it also costs a lot of money. It also upsets our families and our students. So it's a growing concern and one that continues, and one I'd like to remind our families to please be diligent. There continues to be concerns in our schools, and we really need to ask our community to speak to their children, be more diligent, and open conversation with one another. I ask everyone to go home today and discuss safety and what that looks like at their schools, and ask questions to your kids. Find out what they know, what they're interested in, what they're doing in school, what their opinions are. It can open up conversations that need to be had, and please lock up your guns and keep them clear of your children. I'll remind us that nearly all of the guns that come to our schools are from families. So to prevent any incidents and charges against you personally, please be proactive and lock them up, and talk to your children and come up with a plan. Also, ask them if they know who are their top 2 people who they would talk to if they needed help, and how they would reach out to them. So on a lighter note, I had a busy weekend where I was invited to attend a groundbreaking ceremony for Roseville, where our mayor, Ronnie Curran, gave some awesome history about the town of Roseville, it was started by a man by the name of Rolls, and it was a carriage run, and it was the way that they came down to a place called Raleigh. It was a nice little history lesson that he gave us, and it was a great event to be part of. I'm excited to see what's coming towards Roseville's way. I also attended Heritage High School's performance for Grease, my special favorite movie growing up, so I was super excited to see this one. Having such a fine line, excuse me, between District 1 and District 3, most parents in my district, including myself, are in District 1, but our kids attend Heritage High School District 3, so I'm giving you a little shout out over their wing. So we have mixed lines there. But I was excited about all the events that come and happen in our area. Heritage High School did not disappoint. It was a spectacular show. It's over now, but as always, the talent in our young kids are amazing. And whether you're young or older, please come out and enjoy them when you see the shows being advertised. They are Broadway talented and definitely worth seeing. Next up is Wake Forest High School in District 1. It is on The Sound of Music from April 21st to April 29th, so please come out and see and support our students. Next week, I'll go to read to our second graders at Wilburn Elementary School, and I'm excited to join them to do that. These are things that I welcome our grandparents and parents to come and enjoy at our schools, so please consider signing up. You do need to sign up in advance to volunteer, so if you haven't already done that, please contact your school in advance so that everything will be in order for when you arrive to read to our children. And I thought that was a great quote that Ms. Tamika Williams left. It's a great Excellence is not an option. I think that's a great quote and one I look forward to helping Wake County strive for.
That's it. Thank you. Ms. Waters.
Thank you, Chair Mahaffey. And it's hard to believe in a few weeks I will have served on this board for 1 year. And prior to that time, I had an occasion to be at a public event and run into our superintendent. And I had a concern about my child, and I just wanted to say I could not believe how kind and how approachable and how important she made me feel, and how important she made me feel that she cared about my child. In that moment, I felt that my child was the only student in the district. And for someone of her incredible career to make me feel that way is something that I really cherish. And when I found out I was going to be sitting next to her, I couldn't believe it. And so I was so excited. And so I'll relish this time that we have together. So I was certainly very surprised to know that you're retiring, but I will always cherish my first time meeting you. And I know that you have cared so deeply for all of our students. And so grateful for this opportunity to work with you. And so, yes, trying to hold back the tears, just an incredible educator. And so many great things are going on in this district, and I'll transition into our last few days of Black History Month. And there is so much in District 4 that is going on that is worthy of celebration, and great to see Dr. Williams here tonight, District 4 and Enloe. So incredible. I'm looking forward to hearing more tonight. But I also wanted to just highlight a couple of school visits that we have had recently. Riverbend Elementary School welcomed us for a visit, and that visit included Raleigh City Councilor Stormy Ford, who actually made history as the first Black woman to serve on the Raleigh City Council and the first Black woman to win a citywide election. So I was very glad that she came over and visited Riverbend Elementary School, which last year received an award from the City of Raleigh for their outstanding special education programs. And so that history is coming to our building, and so that was great to see. And also, Commissioner Don Mile, I found out a day before his visit to Carnegie Middle School that he had actually gone to Carnegie, and so it was great to go to Carnegie on that visit with him, because he was able to point out lots of things and give a lot of history. And he even remembers seeing Mr. Carnegie, who was an attorney as a child. He remembers seeing him walk from his house to his law office. So just getting those real personal and local Black history moments within our district was really great to see. So I want to thank Commissioner Mile for coming out to our schools. And I also found out he was a graduate of Ligon when it was a high school. And so lots of history in our district here. And Phillips High School was actually the first school that I visited after being appointed to the board, and so I had a chance to go back there recently for the North Carolina Transit Workers Association, and I appreciate the students at Phillips. Just a great school, always so warm and so welcoming, so I really appreciated the time to be there and speak with our students about careers in transit. And then lastly, I'd like to highlight the District 4 BAC meeting. It was held last Thursday, and I want to thank our board chair, Tamara Oyejide, who does an incredible job in ensuring that our BAC meetings are well planned and well attended. And I want to thank the Wake Early College of Health and Science and Principal Cummings for welcoming and hosting us at our event. We focused on school safety and security. So Mr. Russ Smith, Senior Director of the Office of Security, did an excellent job in providing updates and information for our families. And also, we had a presentation from Bree Smart. Ms. Chrissy Sims was there as well. And so I just want to continue to highlight all the good things across the district, and just looking forward to more to come. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Edmonds.
Congratulations. I forgot about that it's almost a year. I continue to work through my school tours. Dr. Ashburn and I visited Fred Olds Elementary last week. That's a school that used to be in District 6, but with the new electoral maps that were adopted last year, it came into District 5. It's one of the smallest and oldest schools in Wake County, and I especially enjoyed visiting on Valentine's Day because there was a lot of really good energy in all the classrooms. So thank you to Principal Moore and the staff for welcoming me there. Last Monday, February 13th, I got my first BAC under my belt, and I want to thank Russ Smith from Safety and Security and Dr. Clinton Robinson for their time and their presentations. We had our safety and security update, and then attendees were able to provide more input on the strategic plan that is still being developed. My next BAC meeting will be April 17th at Middle Creek Elementary, and we'll get that posted to the website soon. Last Thursday, I went to the talent show at Holly Springs Elementary and had an absolute blast. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Students performed either solo or in pairs, and I was so impressed not just with their talents, but their confidence. There was martial arts, dancing, singing, piano, cello. It was a really, really fun evening. I'll be going back there to Holly Springs Elementary in a week or so, and to Holly Ridge Elementary to continue with my campus tours. Finally, we did have some big news since our last meeting, so I'm going to join the choir and say that I was also surprised. I was really hoping that I've been coming to these school board meetings for more than 10 years, and there's all of these giants in this school district that I was really looking forward to working with as a board member, Superintendent Moore being one of them, and y'all are just killing me. I'm looking at a couple of you over there, too. So there is going to be plenty of time to celebrate Superintendent Moore, and while I'm really sad for our district, I am very excited for her and for her family, and look forward to working with my colleagues here on the board to find not just a great superintendent to follow in her footsteps, but the right superintendent for this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ng.
Good evening. I, too, went to see Grease at Heritage High School. And it was just phenomenal. It was just Broadway caliber. I have to say that it was better than some of the performances I saw at downtown Raleigh. And I had to pay for that much more. So I would encourage everybody to, support our high school productions, and I would definitely try to go see The Sound of Music. My daughter, who loves High School Musical, the movie, she was just like clapping the whole time. This past 2 weeks, I've had a chance, along with Ms. Caulfield and Mr. Swanson, to go visit with Representative Paré and just advocating for our schools, advocating for better special education, better AIG funding, as well as funding of our teachers and other staff. And so I think that it was well received, and we spent a long time with her. Actually, I felt like we spent a lot more time than we really deserved. And then Ms. Caulfield and I also went to chat with Representative Torbett this week, and again, we just highlighted some of our concerns that we are facing in our schools, and so I think that he was also very receptive to our concerns. This month is Black History Month, and I had picked out these books to kind of tell people kind of the kind of people that I really looked up to over the years. Harriet Tubman. Obviously, she definitely helped with freeing the slaves. And Katherine Johnson. In the back of this book, it says, Katherine proved that her knowledge and hard work were absolutely essential, and when the odds were stacked against her. And when the time came, Katherine was the mathematician who sent the very first humans to the moon. So that was very just a phenomenal achievement. And then I would be remiss if I didn't mention Martin Luther King, who really talked about judging people by the content of their character. And I have to wonder, who shapes the character of our children? And I firmly believe that it starts at the home. And it starts with the family or the extended family and the people around our children that shape their character. The schools are here to support them, but it's not the only thing that should be shaping our children. And, I contend that, character formation is absolutely necessary for our children's success in the future. And as we see a lot of the things going on in our schools, it's absolutely essential that we have those discussions like Ms. Caulfield talks about kind of the right thing to do, and as well as, in terms of the ethical thing to do. And so it starts at home. And just the last thing I want to mention that I will be having my Board Advisory Council meeting this coming Monday at Durant Road Elementary. It starts at 5:30 with a light meal, and 6 o'clock the meeting starts, and our theme will be on safety and security as well. So I hope you guys can join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. You reminded me that Letters from a Birmingham Jail is always something that I try to read during Black History Month, so appreciate the reminder. Mr. Hershey.
Thank you, Chair. Couple things. I'm actually glad I'm last because I'm going to get to something that's heavy at the very end that I attended at Sanderson High School. First, I want to thank our superintendent for when she informed us of her decision. 10 hours later, I had to be at Stowe Elementary School and not say a single word to anybody. I want to congratulate Principal Lay as she was introduced. And it was very funny because she was talking about and referencing the stress that staff goes through when they don't know something. And I'm sitting in the back just smiling and nodding because I am feeling enormous stress. But I want to congratulate you on your retirement. I would love the opportunity to go to a Hootie and the Blowfish concert with you. We have that in common. I was thinking I was going to tell you this in private, but I was very much looking forward to serving with you. When we first spoke, I was super intimidated. I thought, oh my goodness, she doesn't like me and she thinks I'm not very smart. But I have really grown to very quickly become very fond of your personality, who you are, your leadership style, and all you've done. And so I'm a little sad, but I also look at it as just being happy for you and a wonderful opportunity also for our schools going forward. We are not looking for the next Superintendent Moore. We are looking for someone else, someone unique, and we are not going to try to have them fill your shoes because that would be an impossible task. I want to congratulate the Broughton men's basketball team for their conference championship. A lot of people did not think they probably would do it, and they went on a great run and got that done. Let me go back. Our District 6 BAC meeting is Monday. It's going to be at Carroll Middle School. And I had the great joy of going touring Carroll recently. And when I was in there, they have a really wonderful program. I relayed this to Drew Cook already, but tremendous feedback on a pilot program they have there, which involves coding for Minecraft. And if you are a kid or you have a kid, you know Minecraft is all the rage and just a really terrific program. The kids are very engaged. Then they get to play Minecraft afterwards. And I thought that was really wonderful. Apologies to Mount Vernon. I will be there hopefully in a week. That will be my last school to get to. The heavy part that I want to bring up is I was invited to Rachel's Challenge at Sanderson High School. And if you don't know what Rachel's Challenge is, it is about Rachel Joy Scott, who was the first victim in the Columbine shooting. And you cannot watch that presentation without crying multiple times if you have a heart. And I've really been struggling a little bit since then as we've had a lot of code reds and code yellows. And people have reached out to us about what are we doing. as a board? What are we doing to keep our kids safe? And I assure you that their safety and security is top of mind for the entire staff, the entire board. But I've really struggled with the fact that our society in this country has not really done anything since that day in 1999. And we have kind of allowed our society to go forward and building in that apparently kids being shot in school is an acceptable part of life in this country. And, you know, as long as we can cut our taxes down to zero for corporations or cut taxes for rich people, we don't have to fund and pay school counselors what they're worth or educators what they're worth. As long as, and it's a bigger issue where instead of embracing differences in people, we demonize through legislation that attacks and dehumanizes members of the LGBTQ community, people of color. And so what I'm trying to get at is, as people ask us, what are we doing? It has to be a bigger question as what are we doing in society? What are our priorities really? Is it really keeping children safe? And if it is, then we need our state and federal governments to do and enact laws that reflect that as a priority and stop ducking it and stop building in to our society. It is not acceptable that kids get shot and killed at school. But the actions of our society currently is that it is okay. And that's a problem. And if you are reaching out to us, I encourage you to reach out to our state representatives and have that conversation with them. And I encourage everybody, if you have the opportunity to participate in Rachel's Challenge, it will change you, it will move you, and you will hopefully come out of that with the idea that we have to do more as a society, not just as a board. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hershey. I think that date, it's seared into a lot of our minds. I was 16, I am now 40. At this point, we need to approve our meeting agenda. Is there a motion as such?
So moved, Chair.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. All right, our meeting agenda is approved. We do have 2 recognition items tonight. They are very robust, and I'm going to, for our first one, is a continuation of the recognition of Black History Month. And I will invite our Assistant Superintendent of Equity Affairs, Dr. Will Chavis, to the podium to begin multiple presentations.
Rod, felt in the day when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. Good evening, Chair Mahaffey, board members, Superintendent Moore. Those words recited are from the National Negro Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, written by James Weldon Johnson. First as a poem, which would be transformed into lyrics after his brother, John Rosamond Johnson, set those words to music. This anthem and composition inspires hope, optimism, and an unwavering resilience and perseverance towards equality, liberation, and justice. During this Black History Month, we are called to reconcile with our past, work towards a more just future, and in the present, celebrate the full humanity, the intellect, the brilliance, the talents, and the abilities, while assuring affirming and safe spaces for our Black students across our district and beyond. We must commit and hold ourselves as indefatigable defenders of our students' joy and their success. In this present time, we must sing songs full of the hope that our present has brought us. To celebrate this celebration, or to continue the celebration of Black History Month, You'll be hearing from two student groups tonight. The first is the Enloe Chamber Choir under the direction of Miss Lauren Hallahan and under the leadership of Principal Jackie Jordan of Enloe Magnet High School. They will be performing a spiritual entitled Spiritual, written by Yasay Barnwell, a notable Black composer, arranger, author, and actress. Spirituals are African American religious songs that evolved in the context of slavery, primarily in the southern United States. They were a mechanism for survival and the hope of liberation. Spirituals are one of the largest and most significant forms of American folk songs. They combine elements of the Black lived experience through poetry, praise, power, philosophy, politics, and even pain. Three main classifications of spirituals include the Jubilee, the sorrowful, which is heart-centered, and the coded or intellectual. For this spiritual, we ask that you listen and reflect on these words. Can't no one know at sunrise how this day is going to end. Can't no one know at sunset if the next day will begin. I present to you the Enloe Chamber Choir.
Can't no one know at sunrise how this day is going to end? I'm telling you, can't no one know at sunset if the next day will begin. Can't no one know at sunrise how this day is going to end. I'm telling you, can't no one know at sunset if the next day will begin. Oh, in this world of trouble and woe, a person had better be ready to go. You know we look for things to stay the same, but in the twinkling of an eye, everything can be changed. And I'm telling you that can't no one know at sunrise how this day is going to end. And I'm telling you, can't no one know at sunset if the next day will begin. Oh, can't no one know at sunrise how this day is going to end. And I'm telling you, can't no one know at sunset if the next day will begin. You know the troubles of the world fill our hearts with rage, from Soweto to Stonewall, Birmingham and LA. You know we're searching for hope that lies within ourselves as we fight against misogyny, race, hatred, and hate. And I'm telling you that can't no one know at at sunrise, how this day is going to end. And I'm telling you, can't no one know at sunset if the next day will be here. And I'm telling you, can't no one know at sunrise how this day is going to end. And I'm telling you, can't no one know at sunset if the next day will be.
Thank you, Enloe Magnet High School. We know you've got an early start tomorrow morning.
Thank you again to the Enloe Chamber Choir under the direction of Lauren Hallahan. We recognize the rich contributions of American artistry through the work of many Black pioneers and legends in the field. From composers to musicians to dancers, to the film industry and to the literary works and beyond. The range and depth of influence can be felt in all disciplines. We celebrate our ancestors and our leading legends' lasting impact on American culture. Their stories are our stories. Tonight, we want to recognize our own storytellers and our young artists. Our WCPSS Summer Writing Institute, supported by the Office of Equity Affairs, allows rising 8th through 12th graders to participate in an enriching creative writing and arts program which amplifies student voice and centers identity and expression. Additionally, the Summer Writing Institute pairs award-winning authors with culturally sustaining writing instruction and inclusive literature. Last summer, the Summer Writing Institute facilitator and the North Carolina Media Coordinator of the Year, Julie Stivers, passionately supported the teens in their care as they read, they wrote, and they dreamt. Last summer's teens also learned with two phenomenal local artists. That's the Chapel Hill Poet Laureate, C.J. Suits, and New York Times bestselling author Kwame Mabalia. Two amazing writers from the Summer Writing Institute are here with us tonight. That's Favor Amugu, senior at Sanderson High School, and Jay Cannon, sophomore at Wakefield High. I present to you Favor and Jay.
Hello, my name is Favor, and I've been at Summer Writing since 8th grade, so it's been an honor. I'm kind of nervous, so okay. I hear unity is not achievable. Call it what you must, see as you wish. I'm a realist. The concept has never made sense to me. How history has shown our leaders attempt to achieve this, only to get taken by a bullet of hatred and deceit by the same people they wished to be unified with. The progress of humankind ages backwards, where the sun only sets and life is an endless cycle of unwanted emotions and no set purpose. A cycle where little children are taught not to hate, yet grow up around hate, constantly fighting to be the light in our dark world, a fight they should never have to make. The concept of unity has shown me how, even with everything and everyone in the world working and being together, we would still be left with tension and ignorance. Hearing, I don't see color, or we all bleed red, refusing to acknowledge how the past affects the present, all in the name of unity. I ask you, how much does unity cost? Is it expensive? Did it cost the lives of Black leaders like Malcolm X, MLK, and Fred Hampton, who would be alive and thriving if not for the farce of unity that hasn't even been achieved yet? Look at us. A nation that has been built over hundreds of years of hard labor is more like a nation with a crumbling foundation where simple things like human decency become a political debate. Don't twist my words. I wish for all of us to be understanding, loving, and sympathetic to one another, where we can all be one and live a life of greatness and abundance. But living in unity with a lack of understanding means living in ignorance, and I do not wish to live in ignorance. I wish to live in a coalition of understanding, acknowledging one another as individuals. Let's be a salad bowl where each ingredient is appreciated and respected, not a melting pot where our individuality becomes clouded and not differentiable. A society where we brothers and sisters of every color, gender, and sexuality can be individuals that respect one another, where we can live our lives as those who acknowledge our differences and think accordingly to one another. So yes, I don't believe in unity of ignorance, but I believe in a coalition of respect and understanding. Thank you.
Hello. I have been doing summer writing since I was in 8th grade. So, I think, hold on, I had math today. I'm a little tired. Since, yeah, it's been 3 years. Yeah, we're going to go with that. So today I have a piece for you called Tic-Tac-Toe. I'm going to put this right here. Let's play a game of tic-tac-toe. I'll be the X's and you'll be the O's. Grab your pencil and pick your square. But just to be known, this game is not fair. Let's play a game of tic-tac-toe. I'll be the stereotypes and you'll be the genders. I'll be the X's and you'll be the O's. Let's play a game of tic-tac-toe. You'll be the body and I'll be the shaming. I'll be the X's and you'll be the O's. Let's play a game of tic-tac-toe. I'll be racism, you'll be minorities. I'll be the X's, you'll be the O's. The game is over, 3 in a row, tic-tac-toe. I must confess though, this is no game of tic-tac-toe or a thing between X's and O's. In our world, we are the O's and they are the X's. A game of hunter and hunted, the lynch and lynchmen. History has known the conflict of X's and O's all too well. Ruby and Rosa, Martin and Marcia, Helen and Harriet, going tit for tat, tack for toe. There will forever be a game and a battle between X's and O's. But my game, oh, it will be fair. The odds are in my favor. I am bound for a breakthrough, a wildfire that will burn a nation. Feel my fire, giving voices to the voiceless, an eternal echo of winning against a nation where the odds were so heavily stacked against us. Going brick by brick, voice by voice, change by change, my generation will create a fair game. So once again, pick up your pencil and pick your square. Let's play a game of tic-tac-toe, but this time I promise you it will all be fair.
Once again, we want to thank Favor and Jay and Ms. Stivers. Thank you so much for being here and providing us that presentation. Our students are incredible. They are amazing, and we thank them and the performances from tonight. I have the honor and privilege to call on a colleague and friend to now wrap us up with our Black History presentation today. It is my honor to recognize our 2022 and 23 Wake County Public School System Principal of the Year. As you've heard earlier today, the first Black female that has served, or woman in that role. So my friend, my colleague, the incomparable and the incredible Dr. Anise Williams.
Good evening, everyone. I have mixed feelings about going after the children. Part of me is thinking, wow, they did such a great job. That's a tough act to follow. But the nice thing about going after them is they were so phenomenal, and it was so quiet in here that if I get no reaction to anything that I said, I'll know I'm doing super great. So thank you for having me. I do need to correct one thing. If you were at the Principal of the Year banquet, or if you heard the speech, you did hear me say that I went into the history and I could not find another Black woman who was Principal of the Year. And that's still true. I didn't find a Black woman who was Principal of the Year, but I did find a Black woman who was Elementary Principal of the Year. I guess that's a thing that they were doing in the 90s. It was when I was still in college. So, so that's how far back we had to go. My whole career, and I'm already retirement age. So there was one other person, and I want to raise the name of Annie Lee King Street. She was the principal of, I had it in my head, and now it's gone away. But anyway, she was a principal in the Wake County Public School System, and the way that Penny Road. Thank you, Penny Road, absolutely. So she was the principal of Penny Road, and sometime before she retired in January of 1992, she received that award, and her granddaughter reached out to me and let me know. So Miss King died about a year and a half ago, so just want everybody to honor her and remember her and lift her name up, especially because I looked really hard and I couldn't find it, which I think also says a lot. But I was asked to come and talk about why we still need Black History Month. And so when I was thinking about that, I was thinking, why does Black History Month matter, and why does it matter in the Wake County Public School System? And I think that that's because of what Will does every day. Think about equity, talk about equity, raise up equity. The question of equity is still so relevant, so important, and every data set that we look at shows us that we still have work to do. And so as a school system, this is why we still need a Black History Month. We've all been to school. We all know American history, and we all know our country was built on the backs of enslaved people. And that slavery is woven into the fabric of our nation, and that there are inequities baked into all of our institutions because of that history. And while we're working towards changing that, we still have work that we have to do. And so when we look at any data set and we see disproportionality, no matter what direction that goes in, but overrepresentation or underrepresentation of a demographic group of people, then we know we still have work. When we look at a higher percentage of Black and Hispanic students who are being served in high poverty schools, we know that Black History Month still matters. There's still disproportionality. When we look at disproportionate numbers of Black and Hispanic students being served in special education, disproportionate numbers in the other direction of Black and Hispanic students being served in academically and intellectually gifted programs, disproportionate numbers of Black educators in high poverty schools, disproportionate numbers of Black principals in high poverty schools, disproportionate numbers of Black women being recognized in the highest honor there is for a principal of the year. That lets us know we still have work that we can do, and that is why having a differentiated History Month to make sure that at least once a year, but hopefully more often than that, we take time to take a focused look at our history, to truly notice, are we seeing everything that has happened? Are we amplifying the voices? Are we remembering the Annie Lee Kings that were there but somehow have been lost to history? And so that's why Black History Month is still so important for our school system. When we think about our nation's history of chattel slavery, people as property, that reminds us why it's so important here in our school system, because we are a public school system, which I am so grateful to be a part of. And we know the power of education. When I was thinking about this conversation, I was thinking about Frederick Douglass, who in his autobiography, he was born an enslaved person and later was free. And he said that his master prevented his mistress from teaching him to read because that would make him unfit to be a slave. That if she gave him an education, he couldn't be owned, he couldn't be property, he couldn't be controlled. And so that tells us the power of what we have in our hands as educators. We have life-changing opportunity that we can provide for every single student. And so if we think about some of the great Black Americans who really emphasized education, like Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, or Carter G. Woodson, who was the founder of National Negro History Week, which eventually became Black History Month, we see that power of education, of knowledge, of history. And that is why it is truly important to raise that up and to amplify it. Here in Wake County Public School System, we believe that every student is uniquely capable and deserves to be challenged and engaged in relevant, rigorous, and meaningful learning each day. That's our very first core belief. And that says that we are going to eliminate disproportionality. We're not going to get tired in the process. We are going to continue that press. And until every single student is having that rigorous, relevant education every single day and that the results bear it out, that the disproportional results have disappeared, then we know we continue to have work to do. And this belief connects to the theme of this year's Black History Month. I also learned this year, I didn't know that there was a theme to every Black History Month, so that was education for me. And this year the theme is Black resistance, and I will expand that to be resistance because that's what I believe we do in the school system. When we are challenging oppressive structures that create disproportionality, we are demonstrating resistance. And that is why it is so important that for us to serve every student each day is resisting that disproportionality, and more importantly, disrupting the structures that create it. And we have to be a part of that. So why does Black History Month matter in 2023? Ms. Johnson-Hostler spoke to it earlier, because public schools are the only education that are available to every single child, no matter where they come from, no matter who their parents are, no matter what they have. And so because we are a public school system, we're uniquely positioned to serve every single student, no matter what. And we can disrupt disproportionality, and we can create Black history right here in our district. So thank you for letting me be a part of that.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Normally I take a moment and reflect on what's been said, but I do want to make space and lift up our history-making 3 Black board members that are here in honor of Black History Month. This is the first time, I believe, 2 Black women have served on the board and 3 board members. So instead of me reflecting on this and sharing my thoughts and comments, if any of you have something that you'd like to say, please now. I'm personally speechless.
I think one of the things that I'll say that resonates with me deeply, as a Southern Black woman who has attended Baptist churches her whole life, I'd be remiss, and Dr. Chavis did a great job before In-Low Chamber Choir came before you, but for so many Black people, those spiritual, we call them Negro spirituals, spoke to the struggle, and that song and those words are the things that allowed Black people, still today, still me personally, those are the things that allowed us to get through the struggle, is the words and the constant reminders that though we may be in a struggle, and we may not know what sunrise may bring, we still have today. And I would say that for me, it would be remiss for me not to share that the reason why, for me personally, Negro spirituals are extremely touching and soul-stirring for me is because it is still how I operate today. In the mornings, especially when it's rough, I start with song to speak to my soul so that it changes the course of my day based on how the day before or the night before went. So thank you, Dr. Chavis, for sharing the ways in which spirituals have meaning to us then, but also how those songs still have meaning to us today. And for our board members who've never attended the summer writing camp, I strongly recommend that you go a day or even an hour to watch our students learn, work, and share and truly dream. And I think you heard that today. And it goes without saying, Dr. Williams, you always speak truth to power. And it reminds me that we have the tools to change the oppressive structures that currently continue to allow disproportionality. So thank you. I know that you're retirement age. I'm not going to say anything to the superintendent, but thank you for continuing the struggle. She knows this is like my running joke. I adore our superintendent personally, not just professionally. And so it is people like you all who continue to lift up that struggle. And I know that all of you will do it in retirement, but thank you for lifting it up again for us today.
I just want to echo everything that Ms. Johnson-Hostler said, and I look to Ms. Johnson-Hostler as the OG of the board, and not out of disrespect, but just institutional knowledge and looking at the, throughout history, we've always seen that there has been this narrative that it's, young or old. And, when you look throughout the civil rights movement, if you look throughout today's movement, you see that movements and change it happens, and they're successful because it takes both the wisdom of our elders and the energy of those young folks. And so I would be remiss if I wouldn't, I stand on those shoulders of those giants who've come before us to make sure that this was possible, because the three of us are truly the dreams of our ancestors. We are the dreams in this district, and being able to empower and educate students is the dreams of someone's ancestors. And I do think that we have so much work ahead of us, but I'm also reminded and going to remain optimistic of the great things that the future holds to us. And if you go on and listen to the Negro National Anthem, it says, it's a poem that I would say, and I'm not a pastor, but it kind of says, and in church you have those moments where those prophetic moments come, but it's a prophetic message that tells us the possibilities that we can make in this country. But it takes all of us, and it takes us changing the rules to the tic-tac-toe game to ensure that equity and is infused in everything that we do. So we have work ahead of us as board members to ensure that we are doing our part to eliminating and removing those barriers. And and I will say that although we have 28 days of Black history, but Black history is American history, and it should always be looked at as that. Because there are pieces in our nation's history that is wrong, it is filled with racism, hatred, but we also have moments of resistance, moments of joy, moments that allow us, and if I can quote Mahalia Jackson, it says, how our souls have gotten over because of those moments. So I'm going to stop, and I am just very overwhelmed by the talents that we've seen, and it's a great day in our district, and I look forward to the great things that's going to continue to happen. So thank you, Chair Mahaffey, for pausing in that moment for that. So thank you.
I don't know that I could add anything to what has already been said and seen tonight. I feel so full and so humbled and so honored. Dr. Williams, when you gave your acceptance speech at the Principal of the Year, it spoke to the little Black girl in me, and I am so grateful that you continue to speak to that little girl, a little girl who used to, years ago, get called down to help make copies for the board, and then to come to a place where I now sit on that board is the story of resilience, the story of hope, the story of dreams that go on in our public schools. And so I know you said you're over retirement age, so I hope that that isn't anything that's planned soon. But I'm so humbled and so honored to see our young students through song, through their gifts being shared here tonight. And I'll just continue to reflect on this moment. It's moments like these that help us understand our why, and moments like these when things get tough and get frustrating. These are the moments that I go to help me understand my why, and to keep pushing and keep fighting and keep this work and this hope and this dream alive. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next information item comes out of academic advancement. I'm very pleased to introduce Lori Kraszewski with Wake Up and Read. It has been a while since we've heard from this program. It was referenced in Superintendent Moore's introductory comments. And always, if you have the time to volunteer with them, I'm making this pitch ahead of time, please go and do so.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And I will say, I feel like I've got a very difficult few acts to follow. But I did want to take a few moments tonight just to provide some history of the collective work, because I think history matters, and understanding how we get to where we are, and who supported it, and changes that are made, and the direction things are going is really important. So I wanted to take a few moments to share about our collective work, updates on our current context, and then, of course, ways that you all can support this year's drive. So I think many of you know, but for new board members, just a little context. Wake Up and Read is a community collaborative. We are the local affiliate for the National Campaign for Grade Level Reading. Wake Up and Read was founded on the belief that literacy is a right, not a privilege. As a community coalition, we are committed to ensuring that each and every child, regardless of race, ethnicity, or zip code, is reading on grade level by the end of third grade. I won't spend much time on the data because I think the disparities have already been elevated this evening, and are pretty well known. Many of you may be familiar with our book drive. And what I would say is, before there were books and book drives, orange bags, family literacy workshops, and play dates, before there were volunteers and a lively rooster mascot, there was a vision and a commitment to improving literacy outcomes through collaboration led by Wake County Public Schools. And I think there's a deck, but we don't need to go to it. Okay. I want to just note some of the folks that have been really instrumental in beginning this work and leading the work. And some of those folks are here tonight. And if I could just recognize and honor those folks. Don Dawson in the office, if you want to stand, if you want to stand. Don Dawson, where's Sherry Miller? Don, Sherry, Mr. Fletcher. Have all been here since the beginning, so 10 years. They have been leading and driving the work long before there was a position and someone paid to help support and facilitate that. In addition to some of the founding folks that are here, I want to also Valjean Mitchell, if you would. And I'm going to get your sorority right. Delta Sigma Raleigh Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And Valjean has been on our school readiness committee, again, since before I arrived several years ago, serving in her sorority, volunteers regularly with us, and always supports the work of Wake Up and Read. We've got other partners. We've got Cindy DeFore in our grants department, who Cindy helps to ensure that we are funded. One of the things that I think is really important to elevate about the work is it's led by Wake County Public Schools, but it's the collaborative effort of the Campaign for Grade Level Reading community. And so some of the folks that have been named are here are district employees. Teresa Lynch-Thiel from the Wake County Libraries is here. Our libraries play an instrumental role in supporting our campaign work as well. Shanika Simmons is here from Wake Ed Partners Read. John McGaney with Helps Education Fund is also here. And so I think one of the things that I just wanted to elevate today is the work that happens behind the scenes in the alignment and the collaboration of programs and services to ensure that all students have access to the supports and resources that they need. So in addition to our folks that have been here supporting and leading for quite some time, we focus on 3 priorities. We want to ensure that every child is arriving to school ready to learn, that all children have access to high-quality learning opportunities, both in our classrooms as well as outside during out-of-school time hours. And we want to support families in their role as a child's first teacher. So over the last 10 years, Wake Up and Read has made significant progress in the areas of school readiness as well as learning opportunities and family engagement. The work has continued to expand and evolve with a shared commitment across our community that we're strategic, collaborative, and equitable in our approach to ensuring that all children are reaching that important milestone of 3rd grade reading. The data and research are clear that students with access to books and print materials in the home achieve better literacy outcomes. Something I think that's worth noting for us as a coalition is some of the data behind the scenes, I guess. And I say that in 2018, we had a capacity building assessment done by John Rex Endowment, and that provided us some goalposts in terms of next steps and what was needed. And so the coalition had 4 priorities identified, which included increasing diversity among our leadership team, increasing opportunities for authentic community engagement, improving communication and awareness of the role of Wake Up and Read in the mission, and focusing on long-term sustainability. In 2019, we opened and expanded our leadership team to ensure that it's more representative of our diverse community. We embedded professional learning to support diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to ensure that we had multiple voices and perspectives at the table leading and guiding the work. In 2020, when we moved into the building, we were fortunate to have a year-round space that allowed for community engagement opportunities year-round. And some of you may remember, I don't know how many folks have sorted books in Cary Town Center. That's a hand raised if you've sorted books in Cary Town Center. Now we are able, there's this evening a building full of volunteers sorting and preparing books for distribution, often being distributed by other volunteers throughout. And we've continued to work on our long-term sustainability, finding creative ways to fund the work. So right now, we're coming to our book drive. We've been able to grow significantly over the years, expanding from our partner schools to year-round distribution, and that's been through having a building, having the ability to utilize volunteers and resources, and that's allowed us to substantially increase the number of students that we reach. So in spring of 2014, our book distribution started as a strategy. Unlike, I think, popular belief, we are not a book distribution nonprofit. We are not promising pages or book harvest. But book distribution was a strategy designed to support school readiness and to address summer learning. In the slide, has often occurred over summer breaks. Spring of 2014, we were in 6 elementary schools and 14 child care centers, reaching about 5,400 students. This spring, we will be in 15 elementary schools, 18 child care centers, reaching over 9,000 students. What it looks like when we say we are in the schools, we set up free book fairs. So I heard someone speak earlier about book fairs. And when we think about equity, as a former teacher in a Title I school, I always thought the book fair was the hardest time of year because the book fair would come and too many of my students couldn't participate. And I would still have to bring them down and help them get pencils, right, when they really wanted books. And so what we do is provide free book fairs where students are able to self-select 10 books. And I think one of the big changes, and I think that we've really, really focused and worked hard on with both our volunteers as well as our community, and through the support of our community, we've been able to do it. It's not just any books. It's high-quality books, books that are of high interest, books that students can see themselves represented in, books that students can get excited about, right? So we want students reading on grade level, yes, but we also want to spark a joy and a love of reading, and so that way they can read on grade level, but then go on to be and do whoever they want to be, and they have that power and agency to do that. And so the last few years, we've been able to provide 2 brand new books to each of the students at the child care centers and our 15 partner schools. And those books are provided through grant funding as well as through community donations and folks shopping off our wish list or making financial donations that allow us to purchase that. And so we have continued to really focus on increasing the number of diverse books that are purchased, also bilingual books, right? So I think when we ask parents to read with the children and we say, read with your child, if you don't have the books in the home to read, you're not able to do what we're asking you to do. If you're not able to access the language of the books that we are providing, we're still not there in terms of an equity issue. So we've really focused as a coalition on really increasing those numbers. And on the deck, Mr. Haggerty, last time we were here, you said, what do the kids say? And so on the deck, there's a couple slides that share what the kids are telling us about what they're thinking in terms of their home libraries. And I'll just read a couple quotes for folks that can't see the deck. One of the 5th grade students said, I actually do like the wake up and read because they have cool books. I like the books. I actually learned something from them. My bookshelf is about to break. I have so many books. I always think it's a win when a child uses the word actually, because you know that they mean it. Another quote, the feeling Wake Up and Read gives me is happiness because I love reading. When I got the books, I started reading immediately. It made me read more, actually, because the books were really interesting, and I got to pick out books that I like. Lastly, I still read the books. I've been getting them since 1st grade. I like getting books when we are about to track out because it gives me something else to do other than being on our screens. So our book drive is well underway. The last slide in the deck, because I can't not share this story, is of a student who received books at a child care center partner several years ago. Then pre-pandemic, so maybe 2019, she came to the 2020, I guess, we moved into the building, and she came and had collected books for her birthday party. And she is now a middle school student at one of our schools here in Wake County and is leading the book drive there. And I think one of the things that's really important and is really powerful about Wake Up and Read is the ability for people to come together, to work together, and to engage both our students and our families. All around something that we know is really important, which is improving that early childhood literacy outcome. So That is your Wake Up and Read update. And I will turn it over to Michelle Woodson.
Good evening, Superintendent Moore and board members. My name is Michelle Woodson. I'm the Senior Director for Curriculum Development, and I'm really excited today to talk to you about Wake Together. And I'm tagging along with Wake Up and Read because we are really doing this as a collaborative effort. There is a slide deck, just to kind of acknowledge the fact that there's a slide deck that did not get loaded. I think board members have access to it, but it is available in your materials, so I just wanted to make sure people were aware of that. And there will be a banner on our website that speaks specifically about Wake Together in just a moment. So Wake Together is a tutoring initiative developed to address interrupted learning that has taken place due to the pandemic, and it is with a coalition of community organizations and volunteers, many of the very same people that are here that work together with our Wake Up and Read program. And we work together to deliver high dosage tutoring to our Wake County students. And we began this effort pretty quickly, starting this summer in 2022, and really launched this work this fall. One of the things I want to highlight about what we do with Wake Together is that we provide an opportunity not only for our tutors to come in to our schools, but we are also training our tutors in a great program that is going to help facilitate the learning for those students. So our tutors are trained with a curriculum from the HELPS Education Fund, which stands for Helping Early Literacy with Practice Strategies. It is a one-on-one and small group instructional program that is designed to improve students' reading fluency and confidence. It is supported by rigorous research. It is appropriate for elementary students and older learners. It is easy to access, and it is feasible to use. For example, a professional educator and other adults can implement this efficiently. So that's really why we chose this program, because it is something that our volunteers can access and engage in when they're working with students on a regular basis. So since August, when we began this work, we are currently in 27 of our Title I schools at the elementary level currently. We have begun the small group work inside of our schools. We currently have over 396 students being served through approximately 120 small groups and are being led by approximately 99 professionals with 157 coaching sessions from the HELPS Education Fund to help support that work. Really finding very positive outcomes already. In addition to that, our one-on-one tutoring, which is our volunteer program, has launched with having recruited and contacted over 256 volunteers to date. Over 142 of those volunteers are fully trained and intend to continue this work. 113 plus completed the safety training and have gone through the site selection process, and 136 students are receiving tutoring with either 2 to 5 sessions per week using the HELPS curriculum. As we move forward. And of those tutors, they also have been receiving coaching support. We've had over 61 tutors with one coaching session and 15 plus tutors that have had more than one coaching session. This is constantly growing, and we are adding volunteers and adding supports every single day to this work as we continue to move forward. So I am here to encourage any volunteers that would love to join us in this work. So we are creating an additional volunteer campaign to look and seek for additional volunteers to engage in this work with us. Board meetings such as this, we have been in many different communities across Wake County. We are working with social media outlets, talking to local organizations, print and digital content at multiple locations that we are providing opportunities with QR codes where people can just screenshot with their phone and then access a website so that they can go to a login screen to be able to volunteer. We had a large launch at Southeast Raleigh Elementary School in November that was very successful, and we are continuing our work with Activate Good to ensure that we are going to be able to enlarge the recruitment pool as we continue to move forward. This work is ongoing, and it will definitely be something that we are planning to scale up, both in numbers of schools as well as with numbers of volunteers, and we are continuing to do that work currently and planning for the future. But I would love to invite anyone here, as well as anyone who may be watching, to log in to our Wake Together website. Again, it will be on our web page as well today, this evening. We want to make sure that you have an opportunity to learn about what's expected in the Wake Together community coalition. You will have an opportunity to participate in a volunteer session. We do have those online, but we have had some feedback from volunteers that said they'd like to do some in person. So we actually have one scheduled in March. That's going to be at one of our libraries as well. So we will have some in-person sessions in addition to that. But we're excited about this work. We're seeing really positive outcomes so far, not only from our students growing in reading, but also just the relationship that is being built between those adults and those students along the way. So thank you for that opportunity.
So Lori and Sherry would like to, board members brought books today to contribute to the drive, so we'd like to maybe pass those to the end, and you can grab them at the ends of the tables. Yep. And I'm giving up one that has a really great recipe in Spanish for locro de papa, which my mama used to always make when I was a kid, so.
And I believe, Sherry, it was your son that used to don the Reuben costume for many years, was it?
Actually, it was.
Or was it?
It was Dr. Sherry Merritt.
Okay,
who was
that's right.
Instrumental starting her son.
Her son, okay.
Don the costume.
Yeah.
It does exist.
I was going to say,
who's in it tonight.
if we could hit the 30,000 mark, could we get Mr. Fletcher in the costume? I mean, that might be some motivation.
I would second that.
Well, thank you, Lori, for sharing the brilliance of Wake Up and Read. Having carted those heavy boxes at Cary Town Center, I will also share it's not only a great volunteer opportunity if you're looking to volunteer, but it's great for high school students looking to volunteer. I brought my daughter's Girl Scout troop in to volunteer, so for scouting troops, always great in the fact that you have a permanent location on Capitol Boulevard. Allows it to be accessible to many, many families. And Ms. Woodson, thank you for lifting up our tutoring program and sharing that. And we look forward to hearing more about the progress and successes of that as going forward. So thank you for being here today. We now are going to move on to public comment. Speakers commenting on items on tonight's agenda will be heard before speakers commenting on other topics that are off agenda. All speakers will be heard in order of sign up. If the public comment portion of the agenda exceeds 30 minutes, board policy states that the board chair reserves the right to conduct other board business before inviting remaining speakers to the podium. Members of the public are welcome to offer comments or criticism directed at substantive ideas, actions, or procedures of the board, individual board members. The laws and policies of North Carolina provide that issues or concerns involving individual personnel matters are confidential and therefore not appropriate for public comment settings. That, along with student concerns, may be addressed through applicable WCPSS personnel, the grievance policy, and other applicable policies. During public comment, you may speak for up to 3 minutes. A green light will illuminate at the podium when you begin. A yellow light will light up along with an audio signal when there are 30 seconds remaining in your time, followed by a red light with an audible tone signaling your time is up and the next speaker will be called to the podium. In the interest of maintaining decorum, speakers are encouraged to address their comments to the Board of Education and to refrain from personal attacks and insults directed at the board. Individual board members, staff, or members of the general public. Please remain at the podium during your speaking time. Any materials you wish to share with the board should be handed to the board attorney either before or after your comments. Our first speaker is Mr. Bill Fletcher.
Good evening. It's interesting being on this side of the podium. Thank you, board members and Madam Superintendent, for the opportunity to share tonight. First, let me say thank you to the districts they've just left, but the ongoing support for the Wake Up and Read program is essential that young people have books in their hands in order to learn to read. Since leaving the board, I've talked to a lot of teachers, principals, and education leaders about the persistent 30% of our young people who do not read at standard by the end of third grade. One such conversation led me to some inspired work done in Kennewick, Washington, and this book. The research is clear. The key to closing the reading gap is time with teacher. Not time with computer, time with teacher. And with a teacher who will build amazing relationships with their students. School principals who are organized, teachers who build amazing relationships with their students, and school principals who organize available resources to meet this profound need. This book details what the Kennewick schools did to close the reading gap. They began by setting an audacious goal. Imagine that. 90% of all students will meet the third grade reading standard, including special ed, including other students that are just new to the district. Their research shows, and our own DPI recently reported, that it takes 80 minutes of quality instruction per day for a student at grade level to gain a year's worth of growth. If a student enters third grade a year behind, it will take that 80 minutes plus another 80 minutes of reading instruction per day for that child to be at grade level at the end of the year. The challenge facing this board and this district is to intervene early and consistently starting in kindergarten. It's possible for a kindergartner to show up 2 years behind. Think about it. Ultimately, this is a systemic resource issue, but I'm asking you to turn our Wake professionals loose this year. Choose 10 elementary schools and give permission to principals and classroom teachers to do what they know is necessary for each student to learn well. Modify the master schedule, change class sizes as needed, reallocate instructional time, change class sizes, reallocate teachers based on needs rather than one-size-fits-all formula, and deliver the necessary and nurturing curriculum to close the gap. Identify 10 of our creative principal leaders who, with their school staffs, will break the mold in favor of doing everything necessary to close the reading gap student by student. Allow them to change the paradigm to prepare our students for success in school and in life with solid reading skills. Give your pros permission and encouragement to close the gap. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Becky Lou Hobbs.
Oh, must have been a random selection. It's been a while. Good to see all of y'all. I haven't spoken in front of the board for quite some time. I wanted to congratulate Wing and Cheryl. It was good getting to know you during the campaign trail. But a lot has been spoken tonight about reading. Reading is the great equalizer. It's what makes all of us, gives us the capabilities to achieve whatever our potential, God-given potential is. And I can't stress enough that we need to spend more time on this. All the kids through the pandemic, everybody knows they've suffered in their reading skills. The kids coming into school, they're even behind. But there's so much being spent on schools on things that are not reading, that are not the basics of education. We need to get rid of that and allow more time for reading and focus on reading, focus on math, focus on science, focus on history. But then the other thing Cheryl brought up tonight was about school safety, and several of you talked about it. How can kids learn to read if they're worried about their safety? There's been opportunities of the past board that they didn't take. What about SROs? That was an opportunity. It wasn't an either-or situation. What about metal detectors in schools? Keeping it out of the school to begin with. I appreciate what Ms. Caulfield said tonight about parents talking with their kids about guns at home. But we also, it's a deeper issue than that. And I don't know, Mr. Haggerty, if you recall our conversations from several months ago about discipline. And it's really what it's about. For decades, we've whittled away the discipline and the authority of the teachers. And sometimes teachers are actually afraid in class. So how can they teach to the kids who want to learn when they're worried about safety from another student? They have no authority. I mean, I can tell you from the experience with my children that nothing was done when they were bullied. It was swept under the table. Very little was done to protect them. The kids remained in class that tortured my children. I know that still happens. I have enough friends with kids at various levels of schools. My kids are not unique to that situation. So, although I appreciate the information regarding school safety, the root cause, you have to do a root cause analysis. It's discipline, the lack thereof. So get back to discipline in schools. Focus on reading, please. Just focus on reading. And our kids will be able to have the foundation that they need for life. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Chad Stahl.
Hello, everyone. A couple of loose ends. One, a year ago, I put in a records request for the 6,000 pages of parents that were trying to get exemptions honored for their children. I was told I had to pay for it. It would be provided. I said, okay, no problem. $170,000 a year for your communications director. It'd be nice for that to actually be upheld. That'd be fantastic. Speaking of, so tomorrow there's going to be a bus of kids. Elementary students are going to go out to Greensboro to a civil rights center and museum. They will not be in a mask when they arrive to school. They will not be in a mask when they board their bus. But when they get to the civil rights center and museum, they will be forced to wear a mask or they cannot enter. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Or they could publicly, I suppose, have to take a COVID test directed by the museum director to gain access if they're negative. So I want to share a couple of quotes. One quote. I also explain how this approach is consistent with recognized constitutional principles and civil rights standards, fairly balancing the interests of all concerned and imposing the least burden on anyone involved. The word civil, by the way, invokes a society where no one has a valid, absolute claim against the general welfare so that everyone can live together in security and peace. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, general welfare, who decides that? Who makes that decision? So then I'd like to share another quote from one of our board members. And this from back, let's see, it's not a private officer. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not a private office. NAACP staffer Tyler Swanson replies, Cobble, yes it is, Swanson. It's the people's office. So my question to this board is our civil rights effort, am I the only one who thought those efforts were to lift the citizens that could not be heard? Were we not in that position to help actually break down barriers? I think it was said tonight, changing the rules. Is that not, am I the only person who believes that civil rights, civil liberty is about actually watching out for the small child that has to be forced into something that harms him? Is that civil right? Is that civil liberty? Is that what you mean by equity when you say we must treat all people equal, we must fight, we must do all of these things, but really what you mean is your ideology imposed onto the backs and faces of a child who has a medical exemption? One of the 6,000 pages produced between this board and parents in Wake County. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dwayne Porterfield.
How's everybody doing? Dwayne Porterfield, like she just said. I'm a school social worker at Zebulon Middle School, and I'm here to talk about, surprise, surprise, master's pay. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. Unlike people that probably came here before me from my department, I don't really have a tear-jerking story, emotionally charging story, or anything like that, and that's just me being honest. I'm fresh out of college. I live with my mother. Y'all know it's hard out here. I live with my mother, and my responsibilities are very limited. But unfortunately, that's not the reality for a lot of people in my department. I sit in my regional trainings, I sit in my regional PLTs, I sit in my department trainings and whatnot, and I constantly hear about them. A lot of my colleagues having to work 2 jobs and stuff just to make ends meet. I hear them having to talk about the resources that they supply to their families in need. They're having to utilize them as well. That's unfortunate. It's kind of unacceptable for somebody with a master's degree. You know what I mean? That's the equivalent of a firefighter whose house burned down due to simple fire violations, or a cop whose child can't stay out of the justice system. You know what I mean? That's what that looks like to me. There's no reason why anybody within our department should be in the same food pantry lines as somebody who's some people who parent their students, who work. Oh my goodness, I've lost my train of thought. So I'm gonna just hop back on my, Anywho, so, but y'all get what I'm trying to say. Nobody comes into social work with the idea of making the big bucks. Nobody comes into social work trying to be a millionaire. We do it because we care about people. But the honest truth is, the number one thing that we're taught in this field is self-care. Because how are we going to care for others if we can't even care for ourselves? And, part of self-care is being able to handle our own burdens. And a lot of people in our department can't do that because they're not getting paid enough. You know what I mean? We're bearing everybody else's burdens, but we're struggling ourselves. It's just... so I know you guys said we're priority. Appreciate you guys looking into the budget. I know it's been pushed through and y'all are taking a look at it. Y'all are going to be voting on it at some point. I really hope that y'all vote in our favor. And I'm just going to leave with this. So, teachers, counselors, all that, they get an appreciation week. It's nice to appreciate them, you know what I'm saying? And school social workers, we get an appreciation week as well, right? But the entire month of March is dedicated to the field of social work as a whole, right? You know who else gets a whole month worth of appreciation? Firefighters and the military. So if our job is just as stressful that we need a whole bunch of appreciation, just like people who are running into fires and risking their lives on the front lines, I don't think master's pay is that much. It's not too much to ask. You know what I mean? That's just what I think. I'm pretty sure a lot of people, if they saw our caseload and they saw the things that we deal with every day, they would think the same thing. Thank y'all for letting me speak. I pray y'all vote in our favor.
Thank you for what you do for our students, Mr. Porterfield. We appreciate you taking the time to speak to us.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good one.
Our next speaker is Julie Page.
It's been a while since I've been able to come to a meeting. I haven't forgotten. I haven't been in hiding. And I certainly haven't given up. I've been busy with my kids, sports, work, and of course, Moms for Liberty. You can see we're not going away, no matter what some of you may wish. Many things have carried over from 2022 and into 2023 that still have not been addressed and resolved. So for the 5 new board members, let me take a moment to review some of them with you. Number 1, buses are late or are no-shows. During the month of February, only 14 school days, I have personally received messages of 18 routes not able to pick up or drop off at Fuquay-Varina Middle School. That's unacceptable. Number 2, students are still being given psychological behavior surveys without parents being given the ability to opt out ahead of time. These surveys contain topics that are protected by FERPA and PPRA. Please direct your superintendent to fix this, preferably with an opt-in approach rather than opt-out. Number 3, inappropriate materials are not only still available in school libraries, but now they're making their way to ELA curriculum. The book, The Absolutely True Story of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie, was given as a read aloud in class at Athens Drive High School. This fall, a female student was asked to read in front of her peers. I'll read some. I like girls in their curves, and I really like women in their curvier curves. I spend hours in the bathroom with a magazine that has 1,000 pictures of naked movie stars. Naked woman plus right hand equals happy, happy, joy, joy. Yep, that's right. I admit that I masturbate. I'm proud of it. I'm good at it. I'm ambidextrous. If there were a professional masturbators league, I'd get drafted #1 and make millions of dollars. And maybe you're thinking, well, you really shouldn't be talking about masturbation in public. Well, tough, I'm going to talk about it because everybody does it, and everybody likes it. And if God hadn't wanted us to masturbate, then God wouldn't have given us thumbs, so I thank God for my thumbs. The female student declined to read these words out loud, and then she was laughed at by her fellow students and her teacher. How is that a safe environment for her? Can you explain why this subject matter should be part of an ELA curriculum for any age or grade? And I have to note this was also a special ed class. I sent you guys all an email yesterday. I haven't heard back from anyone, not a single one of you. I would appreciate it to be acknowledged. That issue is not going away. And I just wanted to say we couldn't be more thrilled that Miss Caddy Moore is leaving, and I look forward to some positive changes this year. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Melissa Warner.
Good evening. I'm here as a mother of 4 that currently homeschools my 3 school-age children. And you may be wondering, if she homeschools her children, why does she care about public schools? Because I care about my community and how my tax dollars are spent. I care about underprivileged families for whom homeschool may not be a viable alternative, especially in a single-parent household. All families expect a quality education be provided to their children, especially at the current price tag of roughly $12,000 per student in Wake County. For those unaware, that's nearly double the cost of typical private school. My main concern is reversing the catastrophic learning loss as a result of forced remote learning for nearly 18 months that disproportionately affects our underprivileged families. Recent data indicates our math and reading scores are dropping off a cliff. Some of them the worst they've been in 2 decades. What is being done to correct this situation? How are district resources being spent to help our kids catch up? Actual and projected COVID-19 relief spending through June 30th of this year shows that over 77% of it has supplied bonus pay. I'm happy that teachers and administrators are getting paid more, as they have the highly important job of teaching the next generation how to read and write, to understand our history and learn from it, to perform mathematical calculations and scientific processes. Being a homeschool teacher, I know just how draining and rewarding that task can be. While I'm happy of that higher pay, I see little to no resources being spent on remediation. As a member of the Wake County community, I'm here to point out that while the board claims to be laser focused on equity, you are ignoring the whole reason we are in this room, the education of our children. It's time you treat this as the emergency that it is and allocate remaining COVID-19 relief funds on addressing the immediate need to get our students caught up while they still have time. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Pamela Buda.
Good evening. I wanted to thank the school board members tonight and the new school board members, Superintendent Moore, and then acknowledge Jonathan Bloomberg as the attorney. And thank you for the new members that were newly elected. I appreciate your time. And I wanted to say I appreciate the school board space tonight to honor the talent, the intelligence, the resilience resiliency of the Black community and for sharing about Black history and current Black experiences. The community member, as a community member, and I've spoken before, so for some of you that have been here or been on the board, I want to say I do appreciate Black History Month. I would appreciate, though, if there was data that was shared to actually say and let the community know how academic inequalities for disproportionate students, especially in the Black community, is being addressed, and then where we can access that data. I'm not here for that tonight, though. I'm here to discuss the meeting today. So I wanted to say it was wonderful to just kind of happened to find out there was a meeting for finances. And I've had a financial question and concerns that haven't been addressed since 2018-19, but specific that started in 2018-19, but we weren't aware of it until 2020. And I did write a public comment, I believe, last fall regarding financial irregularities, concerns about audits, and I never received anything back from a school board member. It was a public comment. I had to give my data, and your policy then was if you gave your email address, you would get back with someone. However, I did notice that then in the coming months there were opportunities for your auditing, who you hire for auditing, they presented before the board. And I think they spoke today in today's meeting. But I'm here because my question has never been answered. My husband and I were overcharged for a field trip by hundreds of dollars, in particular $600 and like 47 cents, $645.17. And it was after the fact, and it was 15 months later. Now, I had spoken at school board meetings about some other concerns at the school, Heritage High School, and I had no idea this was a financial concern, except I did ask a lot of questions about this particular event regarding the event, and I was shut down. So tonight I'm asking you, could you get back with us? We don't know if the check issued was accurate. We don't have any supporting documents. Nothing was given to us. We asked for audit. We asked for just the approved charges. A committee approved it. There's a field trip committee at the local school site, and they approved it. We want to know if it's accurate. We like to get access to that money. I'm a community member, and I'd like that for my family's budget. So thank you. Do I have 2 seconds left or 2 minutes left?
We are out of time, Ms.
Okay.
Huda. I do
Thank you so
recall
much.
emails being sent back to you with that information, but I'm sure there is a staff member available that can answer a couple of your questions if you just wait over there.
Okay, thank you.
All right. At this point, we have our superintendent updates. Superintendent Moore.
The one item in the work session today for the board members after the Finance Committee meeting with the first of 3 Budget 101 sessions, which was Finance Committee. But in work session today, the board reviewed the services that the School Boards Association provides in their superintendent search process as you move forward with that. More to come from you guys. That's it.
Thank you, Superintendent Moore. And Vice Chair Haggerty had forgotten something during his commentary, so he asked if he could add something very quickly.
I really appreciate that. Thanks, Chair Mahaffey. And no, Mr. Hershey, it was not the other important basketball game that was played this weekend, but I know you and I are thinking of the same one. I did want to make clear, I forgot to mention it during my board comments, that we do have the District 7 BAC meeting coming up February 27th at Panther Creek High School, 6:30 to 8 o'clock. And we'll be talking about a lot of important issues coming up with our equity framework and some of the work that the district is doing in that area, and really give people an opportunity to learn more about it, ask questions, and sort of see the plan going forward. So we hope to see everyone in our District 7 BAC February 27th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock. Thanks, Chair Mahaffey.
All right. We now move on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the items in consent?
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments, concerns, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. All right, we now move on to our action items. The first one being long-range capping recommendations. with Marcella Rory, our Senior Director of Long Range Planning, and Glenn Croza, our Assistant Superintendent of School Choice Planning and Assignment. And for those of you that were in Facilities Committee, this will be a recap.
Good evening. Staff is seeking approval of the capping recommendation for Apex Friendship Elementary School, the cap removal for Sycamore Creek Elementary School, and the dual overflow removals for Apex Elementary School and Olive Chapel Elementary School by the Board of Education. The recommendation would be for the remainder of the 2022-23 school year and the 23-24 school year. The capping recommendations were presented at the Facilities Committee meeting on February 15, 2023. Staff's recommendation is based on several factors that include board feedback, principal feedback, a review of base student percentages, projected growth, and school capacities. Staff will continue to carefully monitor the impact on overflow schools. And to clarify the dual overflow, Apex Elementary currently has 2 overflow options. We would be reducing that to 1, so students out of Apex would only be capped out to Penny Road Elementary. And for Olive Chapel Elementary, the remaining overflow option would be Turner Creek Elementary. Staff is available for questions, and we seek your approval tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Croza. I do want to say, when you look at the maps that are included on the agenda in the slide deck, we continue to see a lot of this growth in Western Wake, or capping in Western Wake. It was a lot of it, we're still looking for land in a lot of those areas, still dealing with class size pieces from a 2017 general statute. And although I am saddened to see that we are capping a brand new school that opened with 80% capacity, I'm hopeful knowing that in the Apex and Holly Springs areas, we have a few elementary schools that will be coming to provide relief, including Woods Creek Elementary, that is the current swing space for Bauckham Elementary, and they just moved in today. Yep. Questions, comments from board members? We need a motion first, don't we? Yeah, we do.
Chair Mahaffey, even though I do plan vigorous debate,
yes,
I will go ahead and, for the sake of moving the item forward, move adoption of the staff capping recommendations for the coming year.
Thank you. And I heard a second. All right, but Mr. Haggerty.
Well, thank you. And it's no surprise we had a good discussion of this issue in our Facilities Committee. I appreciate all the members there and all the great questions that were asked. And this really is. I know sometimes if you're looking at these recommendations that just appear and you don't see all of the work, the months that go into it in terms of the calculations, looking at all of the routes and all of the different mathematical computations for how to develop the routes and the recommendations we have. I want to say that I'm excited to see that the recommended cap will come off of Sycamore Creek Elementary. I know that's something that's been very important in my district, and actually that's very close to where I live in our neighborhoods. And it's important to explain that one of the reasons we're able to remove that cap was the construction of a new elementary school. The elementary school was able to serve as vital swing space for several other schools that were being renovated. Stowe Elementary, York Elementary, and then Brassfield also had a lot of renovation done, and so many schools are able to use that space. And I think it's a good example of how our building program works. So on one site, we're able to help improve 3 different schools on their original sites and still add vital capacity in that area for a very overcrowded area. The concern comes in, we bring these capping recommendations to us, and capping has a lot of negatives, right? When we cap, we're taking families that move into an area that have made a decision, they live right next to the school, and because we're over capacity, we're sending them to a further, more distant school. And as you'll see in the presentation, as we talked about, this is going to require, additional buses. And we know the strain that our current transportation system is under. And having to add more buses and more routes when we don't have the capacity right now to maintain the routes that we have is really problematic. And I know and when we talk about capping, it's the best of several bad options, because how otherwise do we address this? We can reassign more children to more schools, but for example, in my area where we'll see a number of these capped elementary schools, some people say, well, we could fit all the kids in if you just make them year-round. They're already year-round. We've already made year-round. These new schools, Parkside, which was just built a couple years ago, is over capacity on the capped list, and it's already year-round. So things like calendar conversion aren't going to get us out of this problem. I'm concerned that we're capping the kids out of Parkside so far away, all the way to Adams Elementary. I'm going to ask staff if, and I'm sure they have, but have you looked at Mooresville Elementary or any more proximate solutions, and is there anything that could have been done?
None at this time, but yes, we have looked at it.
Yeah. And of course, we don't have the capacity to keep building schools to keep up in those areas. So between a building program that's limited just by the available funds, reassignment, which as we know is necessary, but massive reassignment will destabilize so many families, we have to look at what our other options are. We've talked about trailers and capacity, and the previous boards, we've looked at the cost of those trailers. You saw a contract today, decommissioning trailers at a site, and it's an expensive proposition. But I think as a board, as a staff, we'll need to look at prioritizing. Do we need to reevaluate? And knowing all of the problems that come with trailers and mobile capacity, are the problems with the strain on our transportation system even greater? And can we look to, as a short-term solution, trailers in some of these areas where we've reached capacity and where there's no capacity at neighboring schools, and we're having to send kids further away, and we're having to put more strain on our bus system as a possible option. I know I've looked at it. We don't have the funds in the budget to add those trailers right now. And so, again, as an immediate solution to stay in compliance with state law regarding our enrollment figures, we have to accept these capping numbers. But I just really want to stress to our board members, particularly to our new board members, this is a serious problem, and that we do need to look at all our options. And I know staff does everything they can to try to come up with the best possible recommendations here. Unfortunately, these recommendations will disadvantage a lot of our families, but at this point, I don't know that we have a better option. So, with that, I do recommend adoption of the recommendations, but I want to challenge all of you that we need to work to find better solutions going forward, however that might be. And Mr. Cruz, I want to commend you and your staff for all the work that goes into this. I do want to ask one question, though, which is some of the portrayal of this issue has been, when we presented this in facilities, it came right after our district enrollment projections. And so people have posited the argument, they've put forward the argument, well, if our enrollment is declining, why do you have to cap schools? Could you address that argument and answer that question for us, please?
So why do we have to cap schools when enrollment's declining?
When enrollment district-wide is declining, why are schools, particularly those in high-growth, high-population areas, why do they have to be capped?
And I think our superintendent said it best once. Students don't come in nice, neat packages in the places where you want them, in and around the schools that have available seats.
Yeah, I think what I said is that they don't come in packages of 20 per kindergarten to third grade in a nice, neat circle equidistant from the school.
Exactly.
Right. And so, yeah, it is disparate growth across the district. It is tremendous growth in some places versus other places. It is the inability to build schools that are equidistant from each other, with students equidistant from each other and neatly filling schools. We have schools that are less than half a mile from each other because that's where we're able to find land and purchase lands, and then we have to assign students. We've purchased land on the edge of the county where you can't draw a circle. You can only draw a semicircle in terms of how you draw students. And so, and it's where the land land is available, where we're able to build, and how the density happens to occur in different ways. One neighborhood that has homes that have 1 acre lots, those have gone the way of the dodo bird. And you now have homes on 0.19 acre lots. And so there's just lots of changes in both what our density looks like, where we're able to purchase land and build schools. And so that's my explanation for now.
And also the choices that parents make. I mean, when you look at the attending base percentages at certain schools, some areas of the county prefer to apply for magnets, and then there is charter school impact throughout the district.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Ms. Caulfield.
Okay. This might not be something that could happen right now because of the capping situation, the situation we're in right now. But going forward, can we get some information on, instead of trailers, what it would be like to do some kind of modular, like extension? Because we do have this space for the trailers, so instead of putting the trailers where it's actually separated from the school, which would either, for safety and also the flow for the students and the staff, is that something that we could look into and see, if that's cost effective, or maybe you have and we can just get that data?
Certainly.
Other questions, comments? This has been a challenge for a very long time in Wake County Public Schools. And certainly not easy. The other options between capping, as Mr. Haggerty shared, are reassignment or a potential calendar change. But when you have so many kids capped out of your school, or you have a year-round school, you start to wonder whether that will work as well. And so we appreciate the work that your office and Ms. Rory has done to make this data consistent and understandable. I remember we used to have many questions when this time would come up, and so I appreciate that being a part of this presentation. And anything else? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? All right. Thank you. And I believe Dr. Lane will be joining us. This is the Magnet School Assistance Program Grant, Candidate Schools and Themes. This comes out of our student achievement meeting that we had.
Yes, it does.
Dr. Lane.
Thank you. I think you all have said it very well tonight, but it's not every week you get an email that makes you gasp. And last week's email certainly surprised us all. So we certainly want to lift up Superintendent Moore and her championing of not just our magnet programs, but the magnet programs for a purpose, and while they exist in Wake County. So thank you. Previously, staff did present to the board on the initial planning for the next 5-year grant cycle for the Magnet School Assistance Grant, which is the federal grant. On February the 1st, we met during student achievement. You reviewed data, had discussions around the proposed schools that are candidates for this grant cycle, which will run 2023 through 2028. Not included here, there is a maximum ask of $15 million per grant cycle. It is a 5-year grant cycle as opposed to 10 years ago. It used to be a 3-year grant cycle because the Department of Education has recognized it takes that long to really build the fidelity and the foundation to build for sustainability from the get-go. Our current grants that we have in-house are all 5-year grants. So in anticipation of the Department of Education's 2023 announcement for the next cycle, staff is seeking approval for the candidate schools. As you noted in our presentation and we discussed, they must be in alignment with the MSAP purposes and considerations as well as Wake County Schools principles. We are recommending 5 schools in this cycle. Wendell Magnet Elementary School would be a revision from current creative arts and sciences to creative arts and design, K-5. Wendell Middle School would be a new magnet school with a continuum from Wendell Elementary, creative arts and design, 6-8. Zebulon Magnet Elementary would be a revision. They currently are a gifted and talented program, so we would add an AIG enhancement to that with a STEM emphasis. Zebulon Magnet Middle would be a revision with the same continuum theme, gifted and talented with AIG enhancement with a STEM emphasis 6-8. And then adding a new magnet school with East Wake High School, and that would become a program combined with STEM and arts, so our first STEAM high school in Wake County Public School System. We are asking for your approval tonight to move forward. We anticipate the Federal Registry posting to come out no later than March the 1st. It is likely going to be due May 1st. It's usually a 60-day turnaround. So staff is starting to work on putting the application together. I know Cindy DeFore is here tonight, and I want to give a big shout out to Cindy and her team, our data research and accountability team, our academics team, our transportation team. You've heard me say this many times, but this is a collaborative effort. We just are honored to house in the Magnet office. So thank you for your consideration.
Ms. Waters is chair of our Student Achievement Committee.
Thank you, and I'm really excited about this moving forward. So I would like to make a motion that we allow the Magnet School Assistant Program grant to move forward.
All right, I hear an enthusiastic second from Ms. Caulfield, who will benefit from all of these magnet schools being in her district. But we appreciate the enthusiasm of other board members that attempted that second as well. Any questions, comments, discussion for Dr. Lane? Ms. Edmonds.
Very quickly, as I know we're going long, I just want to say that I'm really excited about this. I'm excited for District 1, and with the saturation of charters up in that area, I think this is just nothing but good news. So very optimistic, and thank you for bringing it to us.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Caulfield?
I'm just kind of really excited because it's a lot going on in my district. So thank you for bringing that to us.
Yes, thank you.
I know they'll all be very excited.
They are. They're watching with bated breath. They want to know how soon we can start.
All right. Any further questions? Dr. Ng?
I concur. It's very exciting for the eastern part of Wake County. Can you just clarify what added curriculum would be part of the design aspect of it, that's the revision part?
Certainly. So are you speaking of the creative arts and design component? So the last grant cycle, and I think I shared at Student Achievement, because of the quick turnaround time, we're trying to build on models that we currently have in the district. In our last grant cycle, we added to East Millbrook and added Wildwood Forest, an arts and design component. So we're moving. One of the feedback that we received from the community is that it's great to have performing and visual arts, but not many students actually go on to perform nationally, but they want jobs that are in the arts field, the design field. So it's really kind of bringing that technology together with the arts. We are using the design cycle. We're working with the College of Design at NC State University, and they have been phenomenal in all four of these schools to do some initial PD. All staff members for all four of the current Synergy schools, East Millbrook, Wildwood, Centennial, and Wake Forest, have been in attendance. So it's adding that component to the creative arts that are already in existence. We didn't want to change too much about the success at Wendell Elementary, so trying to maintain what we're doing with their creative arts. Since Wendell Middle will be new, then we'll be able to pull success stories, best practices from Wendell Elementary and feed into the middle. But it's really a modernization of graphic design, artificial intelligence. I know we're all afraid of that term, but it's coming whether we want it or not. So trying to help our students be prepared for those jobs of the future with those skills.
Yeah, for a person who wanted to be an architect when he was young, this is phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just on that, if you haven't looked at our high school curriculum lately, our career and technical education, it is phenomenal what we're doing with design. I remember what CTE vocational tech was when I was in high school, and you see kids coming out with certifications in Adobe Illustrator, in drafting, where they can go out upon graduation and get a job in the drafting blueprints and design plans, just straight out of school. And anything we can do to kind of build that interest and give them a head start at the elementary and middle school and pursuing that, I think is just amazing. And so I don't know how familiar a lot of you are with everything that is in our high schools today, but I think this is a great step, and it'll open up a lot of doors for a lot of students that have an interest in this area.
And to that point, when we started working with the College of Design, when we went to them to propose this partnership, I think the School of Design started, I'm going to say in the last 4 or 5 years, and they started with 20 students. And what they were finding is our kids were not coming out of high school with the skills to move into that design environment. So they were excited to partner to start building that pipeline. And that's exactly what they said. We've got to work at the elementary level up and not wait until high school.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Lane. I see no more hands up, so let's not keep these folks waiting any longer. All those in favor of approving these magnet grants for these particular schools, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay?
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
All right. We now move to our closed session agenda.
Chairman Happy?
Yes, sir.
I know that you were able to sally on without me last time, but
It was hard. I'm just going to say it was hard.
Well, at this time, to resume my duties, I would like to move that we do return to closed session today, February 21st, 2023, to consider confidential personal information protected under General Statute 143-318-11A1 and A3, to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privileges provided for under General Statute 143-318-11A3, to instruct board staff on or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the board in negotiation of price and other material terms of a proposed contract for the acquisition of real property in northeastern Wake County, North Carolina, having Wake County property identification number 1748-92-2028, and finally to consider confidential student information protected under General Statute 115C-402 in the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, 20 United States Code 1232G.
Is there a second? All right. Thank you, Mr. Swanson. All those in favor of entering into closed session, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Thank you very much. We are now in closed session.